Okay, welcome guys to the Kickstarter Grant explanation information session. I've built a quick agenda to go through what we'll discuss today. First, we're quickly going to talk about what exactly is Boost, just to give a quick overview. Then we discuss the Kickstarter Grant. I'll just go through the requirements with you. You can also find this online on our website, but yeah, just to give a broader overview. And then I would like to dive into a Q&A to get your specific questions in, so we can discuss those as well. First of all, Boost is the student team support organization of Brabant, which in Dutch nicely abbreviates to Boost. In English it doesn't. But what we do is we unite education, industry and innovation in Brabant to drive technological advancements and tackle societal challenges. Well, to give this a bit more perspective, we've created this picture because we're basically a non-profit development agency and we're a platform organization. If you look to the right, at the top you see that there's a lot of student teams that are the first level, and they interact a lot with educational institutes and partners. But for most student teams it's difficult because they have different educational institutes and different partners, and there's a lot of them. So what Boost actually does is we interact with both the student teams and all the educational institutes and lots of partners within the region. And therefore we create one centralized platform which makes it easier to communicate and to get things done. Besides this, as you look to the left on the text again, it also acts as a centralized funding platform, which is what we're here for today, for the Kickstarter grant. But besides that, we're also a knowledge center and a marketing agency, so we help boost student teams in the whole region. Now, what exactly do we define as student teams? Because there's a lot of definitions possible. But what we see as student teams, they are innovative, non-profit startups, which is an important part. So you will run a stichting. You're run entirely by students. So that also means that the board of your student team will be run by students. And you drive forward new relevant innovations in all corners of society. So most teams pick a large societal topic that they want to work on, and over the course of multiple years, they have non-profit projects regarding this topic and related to this topic. To give a few examples of teams like this, we have 4 different teams on this slide. At the top left, you see Solid. They are focused on iron-based energy storage and power generation. Then on the bottom left, so they're in the energy transition. On the bottom left, you have a different team with energy. It's Team Solar, and they're focused on mobility and the mobility transition. Then on the top right, you have, I believe, Team Heart working on sensors for health purposes. And then on the bottom right, you have Team Ignite. They work on art and tech. And like you maybe saw with Glow this year, they built light installations for Glow, but also for other festivals and other activities. So there's lots of different possibilities and teams to work on. Now, what can Boost provide for you? First of all, we can give you a learning platform and give you some gain for visibility. We have a student team database where you join all the existing student teams within Brabant, so you can see which ones you can join, or in your case, you can register your own. Then secondly, we have a news and events page where we post all the latest things happening in Brabant regarding student teams, where you can also post your own activities and things that have been happening. And finally, we're building a knowledge base. So we're currently busy with making a knowledge base based on standardized contracts, but also the statutes, so the things you would need for your stichting, for your new student team, or the governance. So how do you set up a student team, and how do you make sure that this run properly day by day? Setting up NDAs and just in general how-to, so that not all student teams have to reinvent the wheel again and again and again. But this is still in the works. This will hopefully come at some point, but this is currently still in the works. That's a little bit about what Boost does. Now let's go to the funding opportunities, which we have 2 separate funding opportunities. We have the Kickstarter grant and we have the innovation grant. The Kickstarter grant is what we're here for today, and this is up to 1,500 euros for starting a new student team. The innovation grant will also go online again, which is in February, but that's just a larger grant for already existing student teams for their projects, which runs up to 40,000 euros of subsidy. All the details, as I mentioned already, you can check on boosttalent.nl. So really, if you want to do something with these subsidies, go into this. And we are here, Maarten and me, to provide additional information, answer your questions. But in principle, the subsidies are hosted by the province, so all the official regulations are on their website. Let's dive into the Kickstarter, because that's what we'll focus on today. The Kickstarter is to really start your team, and it offers 1,500 euros to help establish your organization, as I mentioned. The requirements for the Kickstarter, and now we'll dive more technical into it, is that the project has to take place in Noord-Brabant. The project is focused on the establishment of a student team. And what you need to then do is all the board members or the future board members of your team need to show an admission letter to their educational institute. You also, because you want to have this in Brabant and we want to have the educational institute supported, you need a support letter from the Brabant Educational Institute, which can be found on the website. And finally, your project needs to fit in one of the following teams to make sure that you actually work on some societal innovation. As you can see, the teams range from smart mobility to circularity to art and tech to health to agriculture to fintech. There's a whole lot going on. So the categories are very broad, but at least know that you have to be within one of these categories. This is often not one of the issues. So these are the requirements, the things you have to take care of. Then we also have some deliverables. So how do you show this to the province? Well, what you need to hand in is you need to hand in a project plan, which the template can be found online as well on the website, including a small cost overview. So what will be the first financial costs of your stichting? What are your future plans looking like? Just to give a quick overview of your project. Do note that the base language of this application is in Dutch. You can of course write it in English and then translate it, but if you hand it in English, you might have to charge, or you might get charged translation costs, because we're dealing with the Dutch province here. Then the second point of deliverables is the admission letters of the board members. So you need to show that your 3 KVK board members, so the Kamer van Koophandel, are admitted to an educational institute. They are students, as we mentioned before. And finally, you need a support letter from one of the Brabant educational institutes. For contact details to these people, you can always contact Boost, or on the website, I think already, Maarten, you can see the different educational institutes and the people that can agree to such a support letter, right?
Yeah,
yes, Maarten confirms. Yeah, perfect. Okay, then the team's responsibility is after you get the subsidy, which is of course money from the province, you have to communicate with the province about the founding of your student team. And if you're actually asked this, which they do at random, you have to provide your registration to the Chamber of Commerce, so the Kamer van Koophandel, and you have to provide what they call memorandum of association, which is your oprichtingsakte, which basically means your official document that says that you're actually an association now. You don't have to do this, but if you're asked, you have to be able to show this, just so they know that your subsidy is actually, that the money is actually used for the subsidy, for what it's supposed to be used for. Then there's also some refusal grounds by the province, which is the subsidy will be refused if the student team is already legally established. So if you already have a registration with the Chamber of Commerce, you're not allowed to have this subsidy, because we really have this to start new student teams. And the other reason for refusal is if you already have a provincial subsidy or contribution for setting up a team. So if you already had any other provincial money. Then the application window, it opened just over a week ago on the 4th of November, and you can apply for this until the 30th of April in 2026. So there's still quite some time to go for applications. This was the overview of all the regulations and all the rules that come with this subsidy. So I would like to open the floor to the people participating for a Q&A. I would love to hear what your ideas are and if you have any questions on the Kickstarter grant and whether this could or would apply to you. Thanks.